Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ethan.
And I am Bryan.
And welcome to our Loki Season 1, Episode 3 Review and Synopsis podcast. Before we begin our video, we'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with all of our Loki Season 1 Review and Synopsis podcast episodes. And also, before you come in and listen to our podcast, we highly recommend that you actually watch the Loki episode streaming on Disney Plus every Wednesday before coming and listening to our program here, because we are going to be delving into some spoiler-heavy content within this episode and within this series. So go watch Loki before you come back here. Am I missing anything, Bryan?
No, I don't think you are.
Alrighty then, so we're just going to go right into it. Episode 3, Lamentis.
Alrighty. Well, so episode 3, after the recap, starts at what looks to be a restaurant of sorts, kind of tropical locale, you know. And we see Hunter C20. It was C20, right?
C20, yes. We looked it up on the interwebs.
Yes, B15 is the leader woman. So we see Hunter C20 in more casual, laid-back clothes, and Sylvie.
Who?
Sylvie Laupidaughter. That is the name of the Lady Loki.
Is there a difference between Lady Loki and Sylvie? At least in terms of the comics?
In terms of the comics, yes. Lady Loki isn't technically a canon name for anybody. That's just Loki being a female. For whatever reason the comic decided to make him a female for. Whether it be him swapping bodies with someone or just making himself female, who knows? Actual comic storylines that I just said right there, but we're not going to get into that. Sylvie, however, while the last name is different, Sylvie is the name of one of the two incarnations of the Enchantress. I'll just go into a little. I'll go into the Enchantress of Sylvie. I'll go more into her backstory.
Okay.
Because the other one, as far as I know, they're not really indulging in that one right now. Well, kind of. Basically, what it looks like they might be doing with Sylvie in the show is picking and choosing certain aspects of the different enchantresses that there have been and then bringing it into one character. For example, she has the name of Sylvie, but she was more likely born with her powers, and that's like the other enchantress. It's all confusing stuff.
Gotcha.
Damn it, can't comics. Why you got to do this to us?
So to sum it all up,
the Enchantress is a woman that was given. This is the Sylvie Enchantress. The Sylvie Enchantress was a teenage girl who was given her powers of the Enchantress because of Loki, and then she just became evil because the Enchantress is a villain. Way better than the DC Enchantress. I'm just going to say that right now.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, she was a DC Enchantress was a thing in live action, wasn't it?
Yep.
I kind of about that.
I think a lot of us did.
Gotcha.
Because she appeared in one movie. Who knows if that's what they're doing with Sylvie here? It could just be a little reference with the name. It could be that they're going to make her the Enchantress in some form or another. Who knows? Anyways, now that the whole comic spiel is out of the way, onwards with the episode. So, in this little scene, we see C20 and Sylvie talking about, food options. Because, that's what we all love to talk about at restaurants.
That's what best friends do at the bar. Exactly.
All the time. And then we get a little description of what a brain freeze is, because C20 decides to take a sip from her margarita, only for her to get a brain freeze. And so then Sylvia is all like, you know what, I'm a know-it-all too. I'm going to tell you what this is exactly. And she just goes into, to sum it all up, basically what a brain freeze is your brain just stops for like 5 seconds. and then it comes back. That's what a brain freeze is in simplified terms.
I wonder if any of our audience members have ever had brain freezes in their life. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, they had.
They get a brain freeze while watching the episode. They're just like, "Oh my god, what?"
I can't remember what just happened.
They get a brain freeze during the brain freeze scene.
Right.
That's like 16 brain freezes. Okay, so anyways, so after this whole brain freeze thing, so immediately, so to prove what a brain freeze is to C20, so they say, and Sylvia's like, "I'll ask you a question and see if you can remember it." And she's all like, "Okay." And so Sylvia's like, "Where are the timekeepers at?" And she's like, "What?" And so yeah, we learned that this isn't like a flashback or anything, but instead we are seeing how Sylvie's enchantment-like powers actually work.
Right, how the cinematography worked, because I think the intention was to fool the audience a little bit before it really got into the meat of it all, was to pretend that that Hunter C20 and Sylvie are just kind of best friends in the our normal world, and just having fun. They're gal pals basically, and went out to bars and drinks and everything and all that. And then now we're to think, wait a minute, what's going on here? How did Soldier and evil variant Enchantress Loki come, and were they together and stuff or something like that? Something, I don't know. And then
when I was watching the episode, I actually did it did actually fool me. I'm not going to lie. I legit thought that it was like some form of flashback or something. Because like at first, because I mean we saw an entire episode of C20 in like her Minutemen uniform, and so it just threw me off to actually see like her long hair all the way and like more casual kind of clothes. So I was like, this is a different person, and this is Sylvie, and we're seeing like a flashback. That's what I thought it was, until she asked where the timekeepers are, and then it was like, oh my god.
No, they were conspiring together. It was all along. No.
And even the way that like one of the waiters passes by and it instantly goes from day to night, and stuff like that. Like the cinematography for the scene, again, to reemphasize what you said, is just really well done. So Sylvie just keeps on asking about the timekeepers, and C20 is just confused. She knows that she remembers this place, but she doesn't know where or why. And then she's like, "I don't know you." And then again, Sylvie, being her evil self, is like, "It's okay, just tell me where they are." And so yeah, so she just continues to question her, with C20 giving her all the answers she needs. Therefore, Phil, and then we also see, as Sylvie looks towards the security cameras, that this was all right before, and as Loki and Mobius and all the other Minutemen were showing up to Rock's cart. Rock cart? That's what it was.
Walmart.
And then, so yeah, title sequence. Woo!
Yep, that's how we learned that C20 gave away the info where the timekeepers and everything were at.
Yep. And so then we immediately cut to right after the last episode ended. Us at the TVA, and a small group of Minutemen soldiers going through a time portal because, Sacred Timeline was bombed. We see them rushing through a time portal, and then we see another time portal open with Sylvie walking through. Shortly followed thereafter by Loki himself. And during all this time, there's an alarm sounding and announcements coming on the...
Everything there at the TV is in red alert emergency right now, because they've never seen the timeline explode into anything like this ever in their lives.
Yep.
If they've had lives.
So yeah, and then we see Sylvie tries to enchant one of the Minutemen, only for it not to work because, magic doesn't work here in the TVA.
Yeah.
When it decides not to, because, if magic didn't work, then Loki should be blue.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see Sylvie kick some ass out of Minutemen soldiers. with Loki, following suit. And because the time portal appeared in the armory, he almost follows her immediately. Then he's like, "Wait a minute, daggers,
My knives."
my knives." So he gets his dual-wield knives out and he starts following after Sylvie, where he sees the aftermath of Sylvie kicking ass, with some Minutemen soldiers laying down on the ground, knocked out. Sylvie then quickly takes care of two more, blocking a door. Or was it an elevator? It was a door. Was it an elevator?
It was something.
Yep. And then Loki and Sylvie finally meet up.
Oh, I thought you were going to kiss.
Yes, they kiss.
I'm waiting for that. God damn it. I don't know why I want that to happen. It's so incestuous. I just need to stop.
My whole family tree is just a circle.
So yeah, and we see them fight and talk. Loki obviously doing the talking, Sylvie wanting to fight. And Loki is basically, like in the last episode, Loki is just like, "Hey, let's work together and take down the Timekeepers. Let's join forces." And Sylvie's like, "No, shut up." And so, yeah, they just fight it out.
Right.
For a little bit.
It's here when this episode really, it's foreshadowing what they're going to do with them later in the episode. Because right here, they're finally giving us both a glimpse of how exactly the two interact with each other. Because I think we get the impression, like a sort of light impression. We won't get until later. It's like these two, even though they're basically the same character, have two really different personalities altogether.
Yes.
And seeing the two clash with one another is, I don't know how exactly to describe it right now, but I will think about it later. But they just
they are very much complete opposites.
Right. That's I was wondering if you had gotten that as well, because I didn't know if I was to go all the way and say that they're polar opposites, but okay, since you're saying it too, I guess I'm right.
Yeah, no, because Loki kind of brings it up later in the episode when he says, like, "I'm more diplomatic in my approach, and you're more like guns blazing, let's kick down doors and stuff." Like that's very much their differences. Loki has always Loki is more definitely the trickster of wanting to be charismatic in his way, try to infiltrate rather than attack. He very much plays the not necessarily defensive, but more strict. I'm not even going to say strategic, because there are some plans that he has that are just complete bonkers.
I think the word you're looking for is theatrical.
Yes,
because since we've known Loki for like the past 13, no, wait, 10. Holy shit, 10 years. Since we've known this Loki character for the past 10 years, and we've seen him do a bunch of antics on and on, we can totally tell like he is more about the thrills and the fun, theatrical parts of it.
Yeah. He's more messing with people, getting in their heads.
He's much more into the whole drama and the whole moment of the business of his plan more than he is about the actual business of his plan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sylvie is very much like
the business.
This is how, very much. This is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to go, and you need to follow every step exactly as I say.
Right. She's more. What's the word?
Thoughtful.
Well, the opposite is lenient. That's what Loki is. She's very strict and sophisticated with her scheduling. Unlike Kevin Feige. I mean Loki.
But yeah.
And we'll see a bunch of that later on. I just want to set up the premise of this here and now, because we're going.
Yes.
It's very interesting character development between the two.
It's amazing how well an apocalypse can bring two people together.
I know, right?
You will get more insight into that later. If you didn't watch the episode, which if you didn't, why are you still watching? Go and watch it.
Bro, they're just give us the views.
So anyways, So after they have a little bit of a scuffle, the judge, oh man, I'm blanking on her name. Ravona, thank you. Judge Ravona then comes in after she grabbed the resetting stick from the last episode. And we see that she tries to reset the two Lokis, and then Loki time warps them out of there into a random event. And so that's where they ended up. They also get a notification from Miss Minutes that they're out of juice. They don't have enough battery to jump anywhere else. And they just so happen to jump on one of the worst cataclysmic events that you could have possibly chosen, which is the complete destruction of Lamentis 1.
In the year Cyberpunk 2077.
Change? Yeah. Big change.
And yeah, so we jump into Lamentis 1 in the year 2077. Also, so the whole reason why Sylvie decides to join Loki on this quest through Lamentis 1 and try to get off of it and to recharge the Tempad, the whole reason why Sylvie lets Loki basically join her is because Loki made the thing disappear.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the whole reason why Sylvie is with Loki throughout this entire episode.
Well, that's also the reason why Sylvie doesn't outright kill Loki, because he has the gates to actually escaping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's hidden it away despite the battery drainage.
Yep.
And so, like, the next quest to go from there is to basically recharge the battery of the thing so they can actually get out of there. And the reason why they gotta do that, because the catastrophic event here is that one of the moons of Lamentis has fallen into the planet's gravitational pull, and the moon is basically crumbling in its atmosphere, and the moon is gonna crash into the planet.
Basically, take that one scene from Infinity War, but slow it down into a full episode.
Slow it down. Also, like, maximize the moon. Or shrink the planet, however you want to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically what's happening.
And so yeah, so they're off to run and try to find some way to recharge the battery on this Tempad, whilst trying to dodge chunks of moon that are falling to the planet. And so their first stop, after they... Oh, that's right. I forgot about this. Sylvie tries to enchant Loki.
They're gonna fuck!
No, okay, this scene legit. I could feel the tension. And I was like, was Ethan right?
They're gonna fuck!
I was like, damn, Sylvie, you getting a little too close for comfort there.
My whole family tree is just a circle.
I'm not sure what exactly she was trying to accomplish right there with that. Well, okay, she was trying to convince Loki to give her the teleporter thing. But using that kind of tactic, however, that's no.
Yeah. Well, she didn't think that his mind was going to be as strong as it was. Which, in that position, I'm sure it was I'm surprised it was as strong as it was.
Yeah, bro. I wish they had made Loki sort of like this character that's kind of confused to the concept of sex. He's like,
that'd be funny.
That would be funny. He's like, what is this? I don't understand.
What is the strange feeling that I'm feeling?
I don't understand why all the women want to kiss me.
When they want pictures of Thor instead.
Like, oh no, the ones from Earth, the ones that I want to conquer, the ones at the Comic-Con, they all want to kiss me for whatever reason. I don't understand. I just tear out people's eyes for livings. I don't even know how they'd find that. I guess attractive. I don't know.
I have been falling for 30 minutes. So Sylvie tries to enchant Loki, and it doesn't work because Loki's mind is too strong. And so, yeah, Loki's mind is too strong. She can't enchant him. And so they have to go and find some way to charge this dang 10 pad. And so, yeah, they have a small conversation about how Sylvie doesn't like being called Loki, or a variant of Loki. She just likes to be called Sylvie.
Yep, that's where we get the name drop.
Yep. Well, we technically got it last episode in the credits, but...
No, that was in the Dutch credits. Nobody watches those.
And so, yeah. And again, they have a conversation about how Loki's like, this is what I would do. And Sylvie's like, well, I'm not you, so shut up.
Right, it's like, here, they're at this, I guess, hillbilly trailer here because they figured they get some answer as to where exactly the rest of civilization has gone to during this apocalypse. And so Loki and Sylvie tried different tactics to ask the hillbilly woman where all the people had went. So this is where we kind of see the difference in personalities and just how different mindsets of thinking to get to the same goal is. Because like we said earlier, Sylvie is more upfront, confrontational, a bit. What'd you say? Not like I can't think of the word right now.
He says this: brute force is no substitute for diplomacy and guile.
Right. Yeah.
Showing us the difference about how Loki is very much diplomatic in his ways of like trying to talk it out in some way. Meanwhile, Sylvie is very much like, hey, let's take this bitch down.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah. And so Sylvie tries her way first of being confrontational. And so what she does is she kicks in the door and then immediately gets blasted away.
Wow, I never saw that one coming.
Wow.
And then it's Loki's turn, and he looks through the window and sees like a photo of the hillbilly woman along with her husband, presumably dead. I don't think they outright stated it, but that's probably why she caught on to the lie. Because
that's why she hasn't left yet. That's why she's still there. It's just we're told that he's dead based on context clues of the show.
Right. Yeah.
And so before we get into that, I just want to say that this scene really made me just laugh my ass off because it's just I'm sorry about my partner. Don't be. I enjoyed it. Oh, believe me, I did too. And so, yeah. So, as you just explained, Loki looks into the window, sees a picture of the husband, Patrice. And so he shapeshifts and makes himself look like Patrice. And so he then tries to be, again, diplomatic in his way of convincing her to talk to them.
And a bit theatrical, too, because...
yes, of course. In his own Loki way. Because he's sobbing, he's put on he's like, it's been a long time. He's really just, he's going for the Oscar here, And then you're as beautiful as, and then boom, because, Patrice never gave her a compliment. She then is like, you're devils, what do devils want with me? And things like that, because, in times of cataclysmic disaster, you become religious. And so, yeah. They then just straight out ask her, hey, where did everyone go? And she's like, oh, they went over to a train. That's basically the end of that scene. They just wanted to know where everyone went. And so then they go on their way.
The bigger point of that scene was to show off the differences between Loki and Sylvie. And,
and they get a couple laughs.
Yeah, their approach to obstacles and laughs.
Yes. And then we get to see the class system of this planet. Where a whole bunch of the lower level workers are, they're not allowed on because they're not rich enough. Meanwhile, the rich people just get to go on, like your Beyoncés, your Kim K's,
Yeah, your Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, so Loki and Sylvie, they try to come up with a plan. to infiltrate and get onto the train. Sorry.
Planes, trains, and automobile.
Oh. And Sylvie's like, I should enchant one of the guards. And Loki's like, why? So you can make him shoot the other one? And then she's like, whether or not there's a fight is entirely up to them. And so instead, what Loki decides to do is he decides to make himself look like one of the guards and just escorts her onto the train, or at least tries to, until they get to the man who asks you for your tickets. And so when they get up to him, he's like, hey, look, I don't care. You need your tickets. I don't care what up top said. You need your dang tickets. So before he can do anything about it, Sylvie then enchants him because, you know, he's weak-minded, obviously. And so the like lead guard of this group comes over and is like, hey, is there a problem over here? And the guard that Sylvie just enchanted is like, no, everything's fine. I just remember that we got a message from up top saying that these two needed to get on. Again, all of this being the Enchantress's powers.
Right. It's the business of the scene. But take a look at the difference between what Loki and Sylvie are doing in this scene as compared to the last scene. Because basically they're trying to follow the same exact tactics. But they're doing it, well, the outcome is different. So, I think it's a foreshadowing of, like, if these two are to get to where they want to be together, they have to work together. So, like the last scene, Sylvie tried her tactic, it failed. Loki tried his different tactic, and that one failed. And so, the two kind of combined their tactics together, not at the same moment. But like not initially at the same moment, but they just happen to combine their tactics together to get where they needed to go, and I think that's how the show is going to progress with these two characters. They need to work together with both their skills and their tactics in order to get on with their obstacles.
Yeah, because as we learn from this scene, they both, again, while they both may be Lokis, they still have completely different upbringings and stuff like that. Like Sylvie, for example, Sylvie's whole thing is that she was basically abandoned, from what it sounds like.
How about for context, they get on the train, then the two sit down together, then that's when the two like get to talk to each other,
yes,
each other's differences, and we get to see here that Loki and Sylvie aren't only just polar opposites of each other in terms of personality, but also in terms of backstory and upbringing as well.
Yeah.
And so we see that here. Sylvie explains that. Well, like we basically know Loki's backstory because we grew up with him. 10 years, goddamn. We grew up with Loki, so we finally get to see what like the polar opposite of the polar opposite of Loki is what happened to her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Sylvie was actually told that she was adopted, like how Loki wasn't, and so yeah, we just learned a little bit more of Sylvie's upbringing. Not a lot, but we at least know a little bit more than we did. But because Sylvie didn't really have a mother, unlike Loki, Sylvie was never actually taught magic. She, as we learned from her telling us, she actually learned how to do the enchantment thing on her own. And so, like you were saying earlier, I do believe that the way that the show is going to progress is by them learning that they have to work together. Because, I mean, enchantments can only get you so far, especially since they don't work in the TVA. Mm-hmm. And then you got Loki's illusion magic over here. But combine the two, illusions and enchantments, make a pretty good team.
Yeah. Until they turn and they kill each other at the end of the show, but that's fine.
Yes. They kill each other, then they fuck.
My whole family tree is just a circle.
The majority of this episode is just two really big, long conversations.
Right.
Um,
I think this episode is less focused on like the actual business of what's going on and more focused on the character interaction between like the two polar opposites of the same character. Because that's
yeah.
what they're really trying to go at.
This episode is mainly used as more of a uh, character telling thing of like showing us the differences of what makes them separate, and then what will eventually make them come together.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what this episode is, and it's done in a very entertaining way. I mean, because right after this conversation is done, after Loki has some fun messing with Sylvie with his enchantment stuff, um, Sylvie, because she's tired, basically just decides to take a nap. And as she takes a nap, Loki, being the Asgardian that he is, decides to get drunk and party.
Right. That's hold on. That's also another distinct difference between the two. Because remember, before Sylvie eventually took that nap, Loki was also debating that he was about to take a nap as well. But then he was like, wait, if I did that, she's going to kill me. Which, most likely or not, she probably would. But again, she wouldn't have the teleporter, so
Well, what he said is, oh, you want me to take a nap so that you can enchant me, get the TemPad, and then throw me up the chain?
Right,
I don't
that's
think
what
so.
I'm getting at. Right.
Yeah.
But like flip flop that. Say if Sylvie were to do the same thing, would Loki do anything with her? And the answer is no, because Loki is not. He is not a serious character, even though he wants he wants world domination, but he has to do it through like the big opus, I guess. I don't know how exactly to describe it. Besides theatrical.
And Loki is still he still wants to team up with Sylvie. He's still willing to do that, so he wouldn't just outright kill her.
Right, and that's also the other distinct opposition to them as well, because I think Loki is super fascinated that there is an alternate version of himself or herself, or
I think he's fascinated that there's just alternate versions of him in general.
Yeah, he is very fascinated by this fact and wants to like observe more of Sylvie from the audience. And who knows? Maybe the fact that Sylvie is a female has a big role to play on in the whole character interaction thing. So we'll see about that. Again, take this from the perspective that like it's very hard to like write and understand the opposite sex. So like we have to do it in like a combination between not like getting like way too close in the face about it, but also not be like super far back. So you're like watching like the Animal Planet narrators, like you can see the female and her natural habitat kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's also another key thing that will play into the character action between the two. And then on the flip side of this, Sylvie, I think beforehand she does know that there were other alternate variations of herself within the whole multiverse.
It's not a multiverse yet. The Nexus events haven't happened.
Oh, I see. But I think she had some backhand knowledge of that, and ergo she's not super fascinated by this whole thing, and finds this one in particular to be utterly obnoxious.
Definitely. And so Sylvie eventually, for some whatever reason, does eventually take a nap. Wakes up to know that Loki didn't kill her, but instead decided to party on, being the Asgardian that he is. And so she wakes up to him and a majority of the train passengers singing and clapping along and stuff like that. Him singing in Asgardian, except for the chorus of the song, which it's very much a sea shanty type beat.
Yeah. Well, it's like, has that song ever played before in the MCU? Because I swear they've done that song before, or do they just all sound alike?
I don't know. I don't remember it exactly. I do know that he does say, I know that he does finish his drink and then say another and then throws it on the ground.
That was an obvious callback. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's just something that Asgardians love to do.
Right, but like in the context of this doing it 10 years later, because 10-year anniversary, that's when Thor originally did it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, but here's the thing. Loki, because he's drunk, took off his illusion of the uniform, and so he's back in his variant clothing of the suit and tie and the jacket is his variant. And Sylvie noticed, as well as probably some of the audience members, if you're not too encapsulated by Loki's dancing skills, Sylvie brings up that behind Loki, there was a table of passengers that were looking at him weirdly. Specifically, the passengers that were right behind Loki, seeing the variant on his jacket. And so one of them stands up and leaves the room. And then after the whole singing section, Sylvie and Loki have this conversation. Loki, obviously, again, very drunk. So Sylvie, trying to be as calm and collected as she can be in this type of situation, basically is like, hey, people noticed. Stop messing around. And so he's just like, you're paranoid. And so what happens? Well, just like Sylvie said, because they were supposed to be laying low, a group of soldiers eventually march their way in and decide, hey, we're going to arrest you guys. And they're like, no. So a giant fight breaks out. We get a nice little fight scene. Sylvie clearly enjoying it. Loki trying his best. I mean, he does put up a really good fight. He is a good fighter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
this is
fight
probably,
scene.
and it's probably the one similarity the two have. They're good fighters, but in their own way.
Yeah. I mean, Sylvie, because she doesn't have a lot of the magic that Loki does. Sylvie definitely is just a lot more, fists and stuff like that.
Also,
I mean, Loki does use a lot of it, but
I think a big note, I guess, I don't know how else to describe it. Basically, the general rule of thumb when it comes to like male and female fight scenes is like the males are a lot more stronger than the females, so they have a lot more brute force in their upper body strength, while females are much more acrobatic and can do kick flips while being nimble.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Sylvie, while she doesn't really do kickflips or anything, she does use her legs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Either to disarm or grasp.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they get thrown off the train, literally through a window.
Yeah. Like some of the guards just managed to get a hold of Loki, open the window, and it was like, yeet.
Well, actually, what happens is Loki first throws out a guard out of the window.
Oh, yeah.
And then he like is proud of himself for that. He like waves goodbye and everything. And then two other guards are just like, you know what? Here you go.
All right, your turn, buddy. And I just love how the cinematography for that one as well, because like he flies out of the train, and then his body just goes whoo, to the right because the train is moving. It's funny, and then Sylvie's like, "Oh god damn it, this dude."
Yep. And then she dives after him, and we then learn that the TemPad, because of that fall, got destroyed. So basically, it's not that he made it disappear; it's that he made it invisible and then put it in his back pocket. And then Sylvie, she has to have her temper tantrum.
Okay, I did not understand that. I'm not sure what the point of that was.
I don't know either. Completely. I could not tell you exactly why she did that. Or like why she did the scream and not just straight up kill him.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. It just came out of nowhere, and given the whole context of everything, yeah, she could have just offed Loki.
I mean, she had a sword. She could have just
Yeah, I mean, well, like it all comes down to killing off the title character is not an ideal thing.
Plot armor.
But yes, plot armor.
You get a scream instead.
Yeah, exactly. They could have written that better.
Yeah. But yeah, so then Loki is, she's upset because, they can't get away now because the Tempad's destroyed. And Loki's like, well, what if we just made it to where the Ark was able to leave? And Sylvie's like, you mean change in a cataclysmic event that drastically? And Loki's like, yeah, how hard can it be? Sylvie's like, okay, fine, screw it. So they go. It's been...
So what exactly is this arc? We get to see it at like the very end of the episode, but it's like this big, massive tower thing. Is that like an electrical grid tower, or what is?
No, the arc. If you really look at like the base of it, it's a giant rocket ship.
Oh. Okay.
And the reason why it's called the Ark is probably a reference to Noah and the Ark, because the Ark was used.
Oh God damn it! I hate I hate comic books.
The Ark is basically just a giant spaceship that is used to get people off the planet. That's what it is. We again, as you just said, we don't see it till the very end of the episode. And so, yeah, they decide, hey, we're gonna hijack the Ark and fly it.
Yep, exactly. And
so they then walk their way to the Ark.
And so this is kind of like, I think this episode is more action oriented than anything else, because we are not sophisticated enough to go through every single choreography line fight choreography line in between everything and everything. So,
yeah.
That's just kind of what this end moment is. And I don't know if you noticed, Brian, but did you notice that the whole action sequence throughout this whole crowd and everything to try to get to the Ark was all in one camera pan?
I did notice that. No, actually, after I saw the tracking shot, I was like, "Oh my God, that was great!" I would legit ask myself, "Was that one take?" Because it looked like it was.
That's some high class acting or editing there, but
and choreography. I mean,
definitely choreography.
Because if you're doing something like that in one take, that's camera choreography that you have to figure out, and that's people choreography that you have to figure out.
I'm probably jumping the gun, but that might have been the most technically intrusive thing that the crew has had to do for this show. All right, I just wanted to get exact timestamps on that for how long that was. So this entire action sequence camera pan thing is almost exactly 3 minutes. So it begins right at 33:07, then it trails off until 36:11 or something like that. That's how long this big action sequence camera pan was, and it is the most magnificent scene. That's probably the most magnificent action scene I've probably seen in some time, because it also has its ups and downs. There's when it comes to action scenes in movies or TV, you gotta pace the action scenes. Then there's pacing of the action scenes. And there is pacing of the action scenes. So it just can't be all brutal, fist flying and everything during the entire time. You gotta have beats and breaks within the fight scene itself in order to make it majestic. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Cool. That's probably the best thing I've seen in a while, and that was great.
Before that tracking shot, before that amazing climax of an episode, Sylvie drops the fact bomb that is the TVA and all of its members are all variants. Ooh.
Oh my God. So did they ever explain how she found that out?
So when she was going into the mind of C20, she had to go back hundreds of years in memories.
That's right. Yes.
Before she would even start the fight for them. And so Loki's before she joined the TVA, and Sylvie's yeah, no, she was just a regular person. Loved margaritas, things like that. And Loki then tells us that what Mobius said last episode is that everyone who works for the TVA, you know, like they were created by the timekeepers. And Sylvie's like, that's just ridiculous. And so then Loki puts it together that the people working at the TVA don't know that they're variants. They just think that they were created by the timekeepers to preserve the sacred timeline, when in fact that's not even true.
Okay, so what exactly do you think that means, Bryan?
I honestly couldn't tell you right now. Because, I mean, from what it seems like, from a adaptation standpoint of adapting the material to the screen, it seems like this was just a way to make the whole cloning thing make more sense, where instead of it being where they're all clones of each other, they just are variants of other people. Now, from a storytelling standpoint, this may come into play later on. Like, if they do eventually make it back to the TVA, then maybe they find a way to question them about it. I think that it could also be shown as a way to possibly put bad light on the timekeepers. Because, I mean, one of the timekeepers may eventually become King the Conqueror, who is a bad guy. So, I mean, there is that. But this also, so when I saw this, and when, like, after I had some time to think about this, I was thinking, you know how last episode we learned that Mobius is really into jet skis?
Yeah.
What if that could be him remembering either his life from before the TVA, or because another variant of him, or another, like, an alternate timeline version of him likes jet skis?
I see.
And so maybe that's why he really likes them, and that's why he's, like, obsessed with them in a way, is because it's him possibly having a subconscious memory of before he was in the TVA. So, again, from a storytelling standpoint, I don't know yet what they're trying to do with that. They'll probably bring it up. They're probably definitely going to bring it back up, either later this season or the next season.
Right, because I think this is, like, maybe one of the most mind-blowing truth bombs we've probably had so far in this episode. Well, not just episode, the series, rather.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so we're going to see where the mystery leads us next, because we really don't know what the objective of Loki and Sylvie are as of right now. Well, like, because by the end of the glorious action scene, the Ark gets destroyed by the moon, so tough shit.
Yeah.
We don't, as like it leaves us off at that cliffhanger, and so we are left to question, like, one, how are Loki and Sylvie going to progress further, because they don't have a tactic for their objective anymore. Two, we have this whole mystery of the TVA potentially artificially created world, to figure out, like, the meaning behind it all. Like, is this whole TVA thing just a big scam? Like, what exactly is this timeline now? It leaves a lot of questions open for interpretation until we get to next week. So we're just going to leave it at that. It's like, I don't want to get too deep into conspiratorial Mephisto's controlling the timekeepers or something like that. So that is all that we are going to talk for today. We'll just leave all those questions up for debate, probably in the comment section below. But we shall just see what the hell happens for next week's episode, for episode 4. So, with that said, before signing off, you should go and check out our YouTube channel and make sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date with all of our Loki Season 1 episode review and synopsis podcasts. And also make sure that you watch Loki streaming every Wednesday on Disney+, because otherwise you are listening to us and have no idea what we are talking about.
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
get to it.
well, with that said, Thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night and take care.
See ya.
Thanks for visiting the TVA. Don't hesitate to let us know how we're doing.